Yo, welcome back to the channel. Here we go. Lord of the Rings Before the Ages, part 2 of 2. You guys smash the like buttons and let me know that you wanted to see this. So, here it comes. Before we do that, be sure to check out Civilization X. Amazing channel. Go give them a subscribe and check out their videos. And subscribe to my channel. Comment down below what you want to see next on the channel. Like. And be sure to hit that notification bell as well. A lot of you haven't. Be sure to hit it. Ding, ding. There we go. Also, if you want to tip the channel, the link is in the description. Never feel like you have to, only if you can afford to. Let's do this. Part 2. Before the Ages.
With Valinor thriving and the Valar eager to meet the children of Ilúvatar, Varda, the wife of Manwë, brought about the noontide of the blessed, creating the stars in the sky to bring light back to the rest of the world, allowing for the first of the children to awaken and walk the lands of Middle-earth. These free-thinking creatures of beauty and wisdom came to be known as elves, and were unlike any other creature in the world, as they came directly from the mind of Ilúvatar and were granted the gift of immortality. Waking in the land of Cuiviénen, it was Melkor who first discovered them and started capturing those who wandered alone in the forests, twisting their minds with darkness and corruption in order to breed a new race known as the Orcs to serve the Dark Lord. Roughly a century after the awakening of the elves, many of the early dwarves also awoke in the east, such as the Iron Fists, Stiffbeards, Blacklocks, and Stonefoots, who possibly settled the Red Mountains. Others, however, awoke further west, with Durin the Deathless settling the Longbeard clan in the fortress of Khazad-dûm within the Misty Mountains, while the Broadbeams and Firebeards built Nogrod and Belegost in the Blue Mountains. The Ents also awoke in these early years, roaming the vast forests of Middle-earth, and coming into contact with the elves, who taught them how to speak, imparting a desire to learn new things and expand their knowledge. According to Treebeard, possibly the oldest living being in all of Middle-earth, the race of trolls later created by Melkor were formed in mockery of the Ents, just as the Orcs were a corrupted version of the elves. Eventually, the great hunter Orome discovered what Melkor was doing with the elder children, and returned to Valinor to reveal all he knew. Outraged by his actions, the Valar and Maiar marched against the Dark Lord in the war for sake of the elves, defeating his forces at Angband in the Battle of the Powers, and sending part of their army to protect the elves from the rest of the conflict. Melkor then retreated into Utumno, where he was besieged for years, until they breached his defenses, leaving Tulkas the Strong to cast him down, taking the Dark Lord to Valinor in chains. Yet despite their victory, the Valar did not discover the mighty vaults and hidden caverns of Melkor's fortresses, where many evil things still lingered, and also failed to capture many of his other servants, including Sauron.
You know what? It's good they didn't catch Sauron, or else we wouldn't have had our favorite movies.
The devastation of the war caused yet another reshaping of the continents. Yet with Melkor sentenced to 3 ages of captivity in the halls of Mandos, there came a time of peace where the children of Ilúvatar once again roamed the forests freely. Desiring to bring the elves to Aman under their protection, the Valar sent Orome to meet with them, bringing back 3 ambassadors to see the light of the trees of Valinor. The ambassadors then returned to Middle-earth and convinced many of the elves to join them in a great journey west. Yet not all would go, and so the elves fractured into the Avari, who remained in Cuiviénen, and the Eldar, who departed. The Eldar were then further divided into 3 groups, with the Vanyar following their leader Ingwe, the Noldor following Finwë, and the Teleri led by Elwë. Yet as they traveled, Elwë heard the singing of Melian, a Maya who once tended the gardens of Lorien, but left Valinor to explore the forests of Middle-earth. Elwë was entranced by her beauty and voice, and when they touched hands, a spell was cast which froze them in place for many years. The Teleri, alarmed by the disappearance of their leader, stayed behind to search for him, while the Vanyar and Noldor continued their journey west, ferried across the Sea of Belegir upon an island sent by Ulmo. When Elwë could not be found, the Teleri broke apart, with some continuing on to Valinor, while others having
Went to Aman, settled west of Blue Mountains, settled east of Blue Mountains.
grown attached to these lands, settled in Middle-earth. Many of those Teleri that continued west came to inhabit the island ferry, which came to be known as Tol Eressëa, settling off the coast of Aman, where their people became expert shipbuilders. When at last Melian and Elwe awoke from the incantation, they were deeply in love and went on to rule over the Sindarin elves of the kingdom of Doriath. After 3 ages spent in captivity, Melkor was
What? Why were they? Why did they turn into ice? Maybe Sub-Zero just showed up.
once again brought before the Valar to plead his case. The Dark Lord, eager for freedom and revenge, feigned regret for his past actions, claiming that he wanted to return to the light of Eru, and his brother Manwë, being so good-hearted, believed the lie, allowing him to go free. Yet many others remained wary of Melkor, watching him closely, and so he was patient, continuing with his ruse by being helpful and acting reformed, while in secret he plotted against the Valar and the elves who he despised. Slowly he began sowing discord among them, choosing to target the elf Feanor, eldest son of the Noldor High King Finwë. Feanor was a powerful elf of great skill and renown, responsible for the creation of the Silmarils, 3 gems which contained light from the 2 trees, and were so precious that no one, not even their creator, could ever reproduce their likeness again. Although Feanor was among those who did not trust Melkor, the Dark Lord used trickery to convince him that his younger half-brother, Fingolfin, was plotting to usurp his place as heir to the throne. Enraged, Feanor publicly threatened Fingolfin with death, and so was exiled in punishment, making his home in the fortress of Formenos. Finwë, his father, joined him in exile until Feanor finally realized he had been deceived and returned to make peace. However, with Feanor away from Formenos, Melkor and his new ally, the Ungoliant, a primordial evil in the form of a giant spider, revealed his master plan, plunging Aman into darkness by destroying the 2 trees. Melkor then moved against Formenos, killing Feanor's father, Finwë, and stealing the Silmarils before departing for Middle-earth. When Feanor learned what occurred, he was consumed with rage and renamed Melkor Morgoth, the Black Enemy, swearing an oath to recapture the Silmarils by any means necessary, then leading an army of Noldor towards the coast, where they demanded.
I have a feeling that's a good oath and it's going to work out for him in the end, you know? I feel like he's going to be a good dad and he'll be alright. He'll be alright.
Ships from the Teleri to cross the sea. When they were refused, Feanor and those most loyal to him slew the Teleri in what came to be known as the first kinslaying, after which they were.
Okay. You know, we're a new group. Things happen. Let's just put that kinslaying to the side, you know. Gotta be optimistic.
Were cursed by Mandos and forbidden from returning to Valinor.
Tears unnumbered ye shall shed, and the Valar will fence Valinor against you and shut you out, so that not even the echo of your lamentation shall pass over the mountains. On the house of Feanor the wrath of the Valar lieth from the west unto the uttermost east, and upon all that will follow them it shall be laid also. Their oath shall drive them and yet betray them, and ever snatch away the very treasures that they have sworn to pursue, to evil, until all things turn that they begin well, and by treason of kin unto kin, and the fear of treason shall this come to pass, the dispossessed shall they be forever. Well, you know, maybe he's joking.
After the theft of the Silmarils and journey to Middle-earth, Melkor and the Ungoliant turned against each other, fighting for possession of the jewels. After consuming the light of the 2 trees, Ungoliant proved so powerful she nearly overcame the Dark Lord, but his screams alerted the nearby Balrogs, sleeping underneath the ruined fortress of Angband, who responded to their master's call and chased her away into the south, where she became mother to the great spiders. With Melkor returned to his seat of power, he gathered together his armies, intent on ruling over the continent. However, he faced resistance from the elves, who remained behind during the great journey west, resulting in the first battle of Beleriand, the initial conflict in the War of Great Jewels. This battle saw Morgoth and his lieutenants Sauron and Gothmog leading their forces against an alliance of Sindarin and Lyquendi elves fighting alongside the dwarves of Nogrod and Belegost. Although the alliance was successfully able to repel the invasion of the east, the cost was heavy and victory remained incomplete as the Sindarin elves who dwelt in the havens of the Falas under Lord Círdan remained under siege. However, King Thingol had seen enough of war and so did not march to help his kin in the west, instead summoning all those who wished to live in peace and bringing them to Doriath, where Queen Melian used her powers to place a spell upon the land, creating the Girdle of Melian, an invisible fence that hid their city from outsiders. In addition, no help came from the dwarves who retreated into their mountains, nor from the Green Elves who saw their king Denethor slain in battle, and afterwards returned to the forests of Ossiriand, pledging to live in secrecy and refusing to participate in future battles. However, relief finally came for the elves of the western coast when the Noldor following Feanor arrived in the lands of Lamoth and immediately went to war against the Dark Lord, forcing his armies to abandon the siege and march north. Engaging in the Dagor Nuin Gileath, the Noldor swiftly defeated the enemy, but Feanor became so enraptured in battle fever, he led a charge to follow after those in retreat, leading him to be surrounded by Balrogs as he approached the fortress of Angband. Though his sons soon arrived and drove the enemy back, they were too
I told you he'll be alright.
late to save their father, who with his final breaths cursed Angband 3 times over before he died, his fiery spirit so powerful it burned his body to ash.
'Tis but a scratch.
And so it now fell to his sons, led by Maedhros, the eldest, to fulfill the oath of Feanor and recover the Silmarils from their eternal enemy. Meanwhile, Fingolfin and his followers had been abandoned by Feanor after the kinslaying, in which they did not participate. Although Feanor promised to send back the ships they took, he instead burned them upon arriving in Middle-earth, forcing Fingolfin
Feanor's so petty.
to lead his people across the treacherous mountains of Helcaraxe, the northern land bridge to the east. The journey was long and many elves died along the way, but eventually they arrived and reunited with the remaining Noldor who had been scattered after the death of Feanor. With the 2 trees gone, the Valar used their last flower and fruit to create the sun and moon in the sky, and so the race of men awoke in the lands of Hildorian.
So good.
Love
So good. And there you go. Then the first stage began. I love how simple and just to the point it is. There was probably a lot of stuff that was missed, but that's the whole point. It's a brief history. You know, it's kind of like a skim read, you know? Really, really enjoyed it. Correction, Fingolfin did participate in the Kingslaying. It was his younger brother Finarfin who did not. There you go. How did Tolkien come up with all this? He was a genius. Came for the lore, stayed for the voice. Feanor was like 60 different kinds of livid. The depiction of him kind of looks like the leader of Deathlock, which fits him well. Fun fact, in one of the original writings, Feodor accidentally killed one of his twin sons when he burned the ships because he was still on one of them. Also, the thing that inspired him to make the Silmarils, Galadriel's hair, which he found so striking that he creeped on her for a while. And she turned him down, didn't she? She wouldn't let him have her hair. Really, really enjoyed those videos. Thank you so much for watching. If there are more videos like this, like for the first age, second age, third age, all of that good stuff, let me know in the comments down below. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that subscribe button. Like 70% of you aren't subscribed, and if you're enjoying my content, that's all I ask. Hit the sub button, comment down below what you want to see next, and be sure to turn on the notification bell. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.